This is a story of joy, of happiness, of growth, and of love. However it's been written and spelled out, Long Island City was once my neighbor and remains close to my heart. With the many developments that have occurred, it's opened new doors that have set out the welcome mat to many, and especially the artists.
It's like Alice in Wonderland. What lies behind door number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 through 20.
Open studio walks to me are kind of like a big party divided into individual honeycombs. Each pocket has its own hard work goodness. Only this time, I was the one bringing flowers to one of the busy bees. The studio of artist Maria Liebana is truly one filled with thought, emotion, and a self-described emerging artist space. Both an educator and a working artist, her life following years of study at Pratt Institute and Maine College of Art have been a journey translated into an array of mixed mediums. After living in Brooklyn for a good number of years, she moved to Queens and eventually set up shop here in L.I.C. in a space for her many ideas to come to fruition.
Just when I thought this was for cooking, it has wax in it.
Adorned with a passionate spirit, personal zest, and the support of loving folks like her husband Joe, Maria's commitment to being an artist is one that runs deep. One that she says is definitely in the blood.
Since I was a kid, I was always drawing and writing and making stuff, and yeah. And also I come from in my father's side of the family, both sides of the family, there's a lot of artists in Peru and in Colombia, so I think creativity runs the lifeline. Making stuff. I mean, I've worked with like lipstick, my body, found materials, traditional materials like acrylics, gouache, pencil. And last year with the creation of these sculptures that I made, I was like, paper mache, I love paper mache. I can touch it, I can feel it, I can play around with it. And then after that was done, I went into I don't know, a little bit of a hiatus of like looking at the sculptures and like figuring out what to do next. And then I took photographs of them, and then from there it became like, oh, let me go towards a two-dimensional. Now it's like screen printing. I go through phases, you know, I do like phases, obsessions, and I dive into it and I go for it and I exhaust it until I can't work with it anymore. And then taking elements of a luxury handbag that costs a lot of money, and then using its elements and having a title and using cheap materials, dollar store materials, family store materials, dead stock, to recreate and make something of value. Yeah. Like there is the fine line, but then I dig into it, like I start sculpting with it.
There's a lot of feeling,
I
would say, in your work. But that's a lot of what's translated into your artwork.
Okay, so these are sculptures that I made last year, but they died. Most of them, they died. The roof collapsed on them, and so they do not exist anymore. They were in storage, and then my parents' garage roof collapsed because there was so much snow this year. Yes. It just fell in, and so the sculptures, because they're made of paper mache, were like they were so flat and like pancakes. What's a good challenge is like now I'm working two-dimensionally based on these pieces. So that's the next step, right? You
yes.
Keep it going. time I embark on a project or in a new direction of some research, like I learn something. It's like this constant learning, this taking in of information and then regurgitating the information of like what I interpret or what I'm trying to express or what I think about. I just want to continue making art. Just like my husband says, like, I don't know, I physically become, I think he described depression. I think he described depression.
Without really saying it. So what happens to her when she doesn't go to studio?
It means you get agitated. You sleep a lot.
I do, I sleep a lot.
You sleep a lot.
And that is a wrap.
Out of the studio and into the light, it was time to do a little walking.
Long Island City is actually really different than it was about 10, 11 years ago. Now everything's kind of evolved.
Definitely.
What was once home to a large industrial life quickly became a concentrated neighborhood for art. Many of the old factories have been converted into studios, museums, and workshop space for artists to thrive. However, as recent years had seen more of a demand of becoming residential, Long Island City was about to take a turn that had many saying otherwise. I first knew of this place as Fun Factory, but to many, it was 5 Points. Arguably considered the world's mecca for graffiti artists, it is now approximately 200,000 square feet of whitewash memories and set for demolition to make way for new housing. As it stands pretty evidently as a ghost of its former self, reactions to this act have shown themselves as well. The responses definitely weren't limited, as many people were still coming around to see it off.
I mean, I've known about it for years. I mean, you see the L.I.R. and it's right before the tunnel. So when as you're like going to the tunnel, you see like this big thing of just colors and art, and it's amazing to see because it's incredible. And then I was planning. I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, I want to go see this 5 Points before. I was reading about how they might tear it down. And so I was thinking that, we'll go in November or October or December, and then,
It won't be.
Monday morning I see, overnight they whitewashed, and I see pictures and I go, what the fuck? And I'm sorry, I don't know.
No.
But yeah.
For me, some questions still remain to the how and why. Could the situation have been fixed so that it wouldn't have to go away? So that the artist could have still a place to work? Supposedly, the buildings that will take its place will provide a space for curated work. But how does that really fill the void? As it was a place that was meant to encourage a positive outlet to something negative, upon the reception of the ending of 5 Points, someone decided to give one last shot to turning this negative back into a positive, paying homage the best way it could. The nearby Jeffrey Lader Gallery made an open call to artists both of 5 Points and beyond to extend their responses for all to see. Amongst the pieces they received was this plaster mold statue from the site. Aerosol can in hand, now covered in the names of supporters.
That's what made everything.
The outpour of support for a place such as this was undeniable, but it of course still posed new questions for the future of art in Long Island City. Of course, many will still flock to this neighborhood, right over the Queensboro Bridge from 59th Street in Manhattan. But I wonder, when sculptor Isamu Noguchi saw this place, did he already know the possibilities? As many other notable artists make their place in L.I.C, I hope artists like Maria will be able to prosper in its growth. Whether or not we could control the outside changes and circumstances, I'm hoping that while art transformed factories into spaces for it to thrive, that it doesn't necessarily have to stop, but that it can only give more as it still stands. That said, as the new walls were being made and the old ones were coming down, a proper farewell was in order. I didn't have an aerosol can to pay it the proper respect, but I only had one small message that I hope would be enough.